And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Golf and Politics. This is a year in review for Rob Ellsworth. Rob had a pretty epic year. Let's get into that. If you're new to our show, I can tell you we take the golf and politics very seriously. We are very serious about playing golf and promoting the game and having a great time traveling around the world playing the game of golf. And look, I had one of my best years ever as far as playing top 100 golf courses, playing around the world. I played over 50 golf courses this year. That's the best I've done probably in 20 years. I checked multiple courses off my bucket list, including Pine Valley, Ballybunion, Pinehurst number 2, Oak Tree National, some of my courses I've been wanting to play for years. I'm thrilled with the year I had. It paled in comparison to the year that Rob Ellsworth had. 165 courses, 212 rounds of golf. Unbelievable, Rob. I can't wait to get into this. Just let that sink in. There are people that listen to our show that consider themselves, avid golfers, and they probably haven't played 212 rounds of golf in the last 5 years, and you got that done in 1 year. You still have more to play, right? I mean, we're filming this on Christmas Eve, and you still have a couple more rounds that you're going to get into 2024. So just tell us from a 30,000-foot view, how was this year for you?
I christened it the year of yes. And I had a couple year stretch where I was very sick, and was undergoing a lot of chemotherapy and radiation and multiple surgeries. And so there were a lot of really cool trips that I had to say no to for a considerable stretch of time. And I wasn't able to really finish 9 holes even on a cart. And so by the end of last year, I started to get some strength back. I started to get some endurance back. And I actually went on a trip to LA with a couple buddies toward the end of last year. I was able to walk 18 holes again. I started to have a little more zip on the ball, and I just got the bug. And so I decided 2024 was going to be the year of yes. So if I got invited to go on a cool trip, regardless of where it was, could be in Oklahoma or Kansas, it could be in France or Scotland, I said yes. And I went and played, and it really was a blast. And I think that there were a couple months that were a bit aggressive, like the month of August. I had played in 10 different US states in 2 countries and was basically living out of a suitcase. This month is equally as bad. I'm currently in Columbus, Ohio, but I started in California December 3rd, took a red eye to Georgia for a special occasion that we can get into later. Flew back to San Francisco because I had some guests in that I was actually the host of a trip. And then I'm now only halfway through that existing trip, and the golf will finish in Florida, but I still have a couple other stops before I come back in January.
Amazing. So let's just start diving in. Um, January of this year. Let's just start going through month by month and talking about a few of the highlights. And let me add one more thing. Rob, you told me this early in the year when you were playing a lot of golf. And I was like, man, it's awesome watching on social media and all the places you're playing. This is before we even started our podcast. And you told me about this. It's the year of saying yes. I'm going to say yes. And I got to thinking, the rest of my life should just be saying yes. I mean, that should be the first inclination always is you get invited somewhere. I get invited to the MG Cup. It's yes. We'll figure out the details later. And if something doesn't work out, maybe it won't work, but the initial thought has to be yes. I also read a book last year that was really mind-changing called Die with Zero. And I think so often people can get hung up with, we got to save this, we got to build this kind of net worth, we got to have this kind of wealth. And ultimately, what's the saying? There's no U-Hauls behind a hearse. You can't take piles of money with you when you leave this planet, but the memories and the impact that you make, that's what's most important. Something you said in an email to me this week, that you played with over 500 people, new friends, old friends, and random people that you met along the way. And to me, that's what I want our listeners to get. We're creating memories when we're out there. We've talked about our Ireland trip that I'm sure we'll get into maybe a little bit more. I mean, the 8 guys on that trip, we text each other almost every day. There's some kind of text thread that's going on, and most of us were total strangers before that trip, and golf brought us together. And so I look forward to getting into some of that too, just some of the memories that you made with people as we go. But let's start with January. It's actually one of your weakest months, if you will, when it comes to rounds of golf. Only 11 rounds of golf logged, 9 different courses, all in the state of Florida. Not a lot of golf going on in Northern Virginia in January. So Red Stick and High Ridge were 2 of your favorite courses. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that in your January swing?
Yeah, Red Stick is a super private club that, to be brutally honest with you, I had never heard of. A friend of mine who's a member at RTJ is also a member there and invited me to come down and stay for a couple days with him. And I played in a tournament there, shot a 69, really got the year off to a strong start. Such a cool course, cool club. The locker room kind of spills out onto this terrace, and the ninth and 18th holes both finish right at it. But really, right out of the gate, I played with um, 2 members that I would end up, playing multiple rounds with around the country this year. It led to rounds at Newport Country Club in Rhode Island, which was always on my bucket list and is really hard to get on. Um, and it's just sort of odd how, like, I never set out at the beginning of the year. My only goal was to just say yes and play more golf and have fun. I really did not map out anything beyond like special occasions. Like, I knew I was going to have my 40th birthday in July. I knew about MG Cup, planning stuff around that, but everything just kind of took off organically. I would meet somebody during a round of golf, find out that they were a member here, there, or somewhere else, or they were doing a trip that year and wanted me to come along. And it just sort of spirals. And then the more you kind of get in the weeds with this group, because it's a small crew that, really is plugged in to the top 100 courses in the world, top 100 in the US, and they all know each other, and they're all maniacs. They're great guys, but just maniacs. I mean, these guys are planning trips and putting stuff together left and right. And once you sort of get plugged into those circles, you start getting invited to all these things. And, for the first year of my life, I just started saying yes. January and February, I rented a place near Palm Beach in Florida. I wanted to sort of see, test out second home markets of like, where would I like to have a winter place? And so February and March, the goal was just to play all the best places in Florida and see if there was a particular club or a particular part of the state that I liked the best. And I was kidding. It felt like I was running for governor of nothing. You know, I played in Tampa, Orlando. Um, I was in Vero Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Jupiter, uh, Naples, Sarasota, Ocean Reef, Key Largo. I mean, the whole state in January and February, trying to figure out what I like the best and if anything stuck for joining somewhere or getting a winter home.
Well, there's one course on here that you don't have highlighted, but I want to hear more about is the park. I was very intrigued by the park because they had the match there last year, and even though I didn't think the match was really, I don't know if it was last year or earlier this year when that was with Rory, um, and Max Homa was part of that, and it wasn't really well watched, but I was very intrigued by the municipal course that they played at. So tell us a little bit about the park in West Palm Beach.
I actually know a good bit about this place and I love it. So, my teaching pro, who's a friend of yours, friend of the show's, Mike McGetrick, actually is the founder of the park, West Palm. And he put together the financing for it. He was responsible for hiring Gil Hands to be the architect. And the goal was to have basically to prove proof of concept that you could have world-class golf architecture available to the public at a good price, and that the way to, make the math work to where, local folks could play it at an affordable price, there could be programs for kids, was that out of town people who would be interested in playing a Gil Hands course would pay a premium. I don't know if it's like $300 or 330, whatever it is. And local folks could pay it for a lot less. And Mike McGetrick was really responsible for bringing in the money folks, Gil Hands to design it. Mike was very involved in designing the practice facilities and the practice areas, making sure that it was kid and family friendly, but also tour quality to where the best golfers in the world would have, plenty of room to work on their games. And the golf course is outstanding. I mean, I, I don't know if I'd put it in the top 100 in the US, but I would absolutely put it in the top 150. And that's the top 1% of the golf courses in the United States, and it's available to the public. And the other thing people forget about like West Palm Beach is, a lot of people think Palm Beach, lots of money. And yeah, that's true of Palm Beach. But West Palm Beach has a lot of underserved areas, and the course is actually located in a fairly underserved area right off of right off of 95. And the youth programs and mentoring they're doing there are absolutely outstanding. And my pitch to, guys like you, Matt, guys that can afford to play great golf courses, go play there because not only is it worth every penny, they need out of town people to play it to make the math work, so that it is affordable for kids and,
Let's just have a production meeting right here during our podcast. I think that we need to go down, and Jordan, you can get on a plane with me and let's go down and play it, and go and do interviews with some of the people in West Palm Beach government as well. Talk about the program and how there's an intersection of golf and politics there. It's on my bucket list for 2025. I'm gonna, whether we do a show there or not, I'm going to play it. There's no question. So
yeah.
especially knowing that Mike has had such a hand in it, that really excites me to go play it. And speaking of Mike, you had a special round with him and a couple former LPGA stars. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was really cool. Two of Mike's favorite students and longtime students, Meg Mallon and Beth Daniel, both members of the World Golf Hall of Fame. Uh, Mike set up a round for Mike and I to play the two of them in one best ball match play at High Ridge Country Club, where they're members. And we met them for lunch, and we just had just a fantastic conversation about life on tour, um, life after tour, their time working with McGetrick on their swings and their games, and then we went out and played and just had a blast. I mean, it was, it's amazing. Their games are just still incredible, absolutely automatic, down the middle, on the green, great putters. Mike and I somehow managed to walk away having the match. But they're both uh, terrific players and even better human beings. It's really remarkable what they've done for charity and what they've done for women's golf. So it was an honor to see them in a relaxed setting and to play their home course, especially with their pro, who's also my pro. I always joke that, I'm Mike's, most famous student, but that is absolutely not the case. It's funny because it is clearly a joke.
Uh, so there is one course that's not on your list, but I'm curious whether or not you've ever played it. It's on my bucket list for 2025. And it's because Key West is Marina and I, my wife's favorite vacation spot. We go there almost every year. I've never taken my golf clubs. It's usually just Marina and I for 2 or 3 days in Key West. We enjoy going around all the different bars and people watching and the good food in Key West. But Key West Golf Club is the only real golf course on the island, and it's a Reese Jones design. Have you ever played it?
I haven't. I go to Miami a lot. I've got a client there, and he's a member at Doral, and so we play a lot at Doral. And I've also played a lot at Trump Jupiter and Trump West Palm Beach, which will surprise you and many of our visitors. And on many occasions, I've run into President Trump and or family members I know, and always cordial. And I've seen him play. I've never played with him, but that's where most of the golf has been. Uh, in the southern tip of Florida, other than a trip to Ocean Reef and Card Sound Club in Key Largo. But I've actually never been to Key West.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, in Miami, I've played pretty much everything in Miami. But I play most of my golf at Doral, because a client and a good friend has been a member there
Gotcha.
for a decade.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, what we need to do is we need to go down there this winter, play in West Palm and Miami, wherever in South Florida, and then I'll have my wife fly into to Key West, and I'll just drive down there and meet her,
Yeah.
and
No,
then hit up Key West Golf Club, and then spend
no,
a
I
couple of days not golfing with her.
No, I'd love to check it out. I've heard great things. I've honestly just never taken the drive down across that big bridge and done it, but it's now on my list.
Good
This is
deal.
how it
All right,
this is how it happens.
that is you gotta make the list. All right,
Yeah.
in February you got to play with a tour pro, and you met some famous people. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Grove 23, Michael Jordan's place. It's literally like playing in Michael Jordan's backyard. Such a cool place. You pull up to the valet and they ask you, you know, "Mr. Parker, what kind of golf balls do you play?" And so you'll say, "Titleist Pro V1 X Left Dash," and you forget about it. You go into the pro shop, you spend a fortune on Jordan swag they don't sell anywhere else. I think I spent like 2,700 bucks.
Okay.
Um, but I'm a Jordan fanatic, definitely childhood hero, along with Tiger Woods and a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers. But and then you go to the bar, you have drinks. We go in there. Rory McIlroy's there. Keegan Bradley chatted it up with them, and they're wearing just hoodies and gym shorts. That's what everybody golfs there. That's what they
Okay.
were golfing. And then eventually you get yourself out to some of the best practice facilities you've ever seen, and somebody brings up a black leather Grove 23 bag with exactly the golf balls you said you play to warm up with. And my buddies and I were joking, we should have said like Kirkland from Costco or like Pinnacle Extremes and made it
Top
difficult.
Flight XL 2000 Magnus.
Yeah, and it's just such a people always say, "Well, it's not that great of a golf course." Like, that's not what the experience is about. It's a really good golf course. It's in great shape. Um, but it's about playing sixums. They play sixums,
Okay.
and you play 36 because Jordan likes to play 36. And, your caddies are on these like motorcycle golf carts, and, they're getting cocktails and drinks for you, and you play in a sixum and you play money games, of course, and you just whip around and you can see the entire property from the clubhouse. So you can always see where Jordan's entourage, where his group is. And if he's anywhere near you, you let him go through. I played with Gary Hallberg, who's a PGA Tour veteran, former PGA Tour winner, wonderful guy, personal friend of Michael Jordan's. And it's just a cool course. It's like the par fives are all reachable if you're playing the right tees for you. Um, it's got some drivable par fours. It's got some long par fours. The par threes are all really cool. It's just a blast. And you whip around, play 36, listen to music, gamble, and then you go in the clubhouse afterwards. And obviously, Michael Jordan didn't know who the hell I am, but he recognized Hallberg, my host, and he said, "Hey, GH, come over here." And I just had one of those moments where I usually let famous people be, I don't bug him, but he's so chill and so down to earth. I'm like, this is my chance to go meet Michael. So I just walked right up. Gary introduced him to me, shook hands, and they always tell you never meet your heroes. Bullshit when it comes to Michael Jordan. He is every bit as cool as you think he'll be. He's huge. his hands, like, engulfed mine. Like, every and he was holding a bag of cigars that probably, are worth more than my condo, and we were drinking his tequila there. I was there with a couple buddies, and, just a really awesome, special day that I'll never forget.
That's incredible. Interesting story about Michael Jordan in the Ohio Valley where we're from. Do you know that he played Williams Country Club about
I
20
did
years ago?
I
With
did
with Ahmad Rashad, and my grandfather was playing. It was a slow day at Williams, and my grandfather was getting ready to tee off he's a pastor, and he's getting ready to tee off with another pastor, and they said, "Hey, would you guys mind waiting? We have a special person that needs to tee off, and we need to kind of clear some holes." And they said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And here comes Michael Jordan and Ahmad Rashad, and they teed off and played a twosome, and kind of had the course to themselves. And my grandfather and the other guy followed about 2 holes behind, but said he was very polite and nice, but they didn't have the, chance to really interact with them. But pretty cool to show up one day and Michael Jordan's at Williams Country Club.
I had no idea he was at Williams. I did see him when I was a kid. My dad and I went up to Nevillewood to watch the Mario Lemieux charity golf tournament, and Mario played with Jordan and Elway. So I was able to see him somewhat close up, but obviously didn't meet him and get to talk to him, but,
What an awesome experience, though. I mean,
yeah,
that's incredible.
super down to earth, and so was, Rory, and, just, we actually felt overdressed because we wore, like, proper golf pants, polo, like a windbreaker, hat, and those guys just show up like gym bros. Like, I mean, they're wearing, like, mesh shorts and, you know, obviously Jordans. I did wear a good pair of Air Jordans. Uh,
You have a pair too that are pretty nice. Just a
I
pair
got
of, yeah.
I I have a couple, yeah, and I bought a few more there.
That's great. And then you met Eli Manning at the Hoopie Match Club. Is that true?
Yeah, so Hoopie Match Club, I'm blanking on the founder's name of it. I feel like it's like Walrath or Michael Walrath or some big Wall Street hedge fund guy, uh, built a Hoopie Match Club. It's just outside of Savannah, Georgia, um, and it's absolutely stunning. It debuted on the World 100 list. Obviously, it's top 100 in the US on every list. Very cool place, very understated. You show up for like 1 or 2 nights. Um, nothing fancy. It's just great golf. And I was a guest, and, Eli Manning is a member, and we only had 2 groups on property. My group had 8 people, and Eli brought 7 friends. And it's just one of those cool places that, you know, the you eat what the chef makes for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner. There's no menu. But,
Okay.
if the chef makes scrambled eggs and French toast, that's what you're having. If the chef makes chicken parmesan for dinner, that's what you're having. So, and it's obviously very, very good. Um, but really a great golf course, a lot of fun. It's tough to get on, so that was probably the first top 100 I played this year, and then it just kinda got out of control in ensuing months.
Well, we're gonna get into how it gets out of control here in the next few months, but I
Yeah.
want in the month of March, you start to play RTJ. You once told me, "Matt, I've played golf all over the world. I've played at the time you played 99 in the top 100. If I had to play one last round of golf anywhere in the world, it'd be at RTJ." And you start playing. The weather starts to get decent up north in March. And you played 5 times at RTJ, and every month you play there at your home club. Tell us a little bit about the culture at your home club. Who do you like to play with there? What are the kind of games that you get into at RTJ? Just tell us a little bit about RTJ and why you love being a member there so much.
Yeah, I do, I really do. I knew it the first time I stepped foot on the property. I was looking at, like, 3 or 4 other clubs, and for RTJ, for me, it's a combination of what I call the gate to gate RTJ experience. From the time you pull through the gate and get to valet, go in the locker room, grab a cocktail, hit balls, play, like, just the level of service, the staff, how nice everybody is. And as a member, I do a lot of I'm like you, run a multi-client business, so I do a lot of entertaining. And the thing I love about RTJ is that they treat my guests every bit as well as they treat me. I didn't grow up playing courses or clubs like RTJ. I can guarantee you that. I grew up.
We
I,
grew up playing the same courses. I mean, it was
yeah, I mean,
public golf in the Ohio Valley. Yeah.
I grew up like working maintenance at RTJ and like cleaning carts and picking the range at Blackmore Golf Club. So I really appreciate how well they treat people because I always hated, finally getting invited to go play somewhere nice and then they treat you like shit. Kind of defeats the purpose of playing somewhere nice when you always feel like you're looking over your shoulder and they never make you feel that way. And just I love the golf course. Um, there's no gimmicks. Nothing feels stuffed in. It's big, it's fair, it's challenging. It rewards good shots. It punishes your weaknesses. You finish 18 and you're excited to play it again tomorrow. Um, and the culture of the club is great. I really like the membership and the staff. Um, if there's any big gambling, I'm not part of it. I don't my game, I play with a lot of the better players. And so with the better players, we just play a 10-10-10 game, $10 that is,
Mhm.
front, back, and total. And it's more about the camaraderie and winning than it
Sure.
is about like
Oh yeah.
taking cash off of an
Oh, I don't
opponent.
care if I'm playing for quarters. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the idea of some of the guys I play with, Jefferson and Gus and Jared and my friends at my home club. It's I don't care what we're playing for. I just want to win the money, and that's it. It could be $2. The pride that's on the line is way more
Yeah.
important than the
You
amount
know,
of money.
I've now finished the top 100, and I will still say my favorite place to play is RTJ. It just is. And there's the very, very top of the list. I can say this of how well they do cottages and food and service and conditioning and everything. I mean, I know I sound biased, but RTJ is right in the same ballpark with any of them.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
s Some of them have a bigger name or more history or maybe just a little bit more attention, but I would still choose RTJ because you can go there and just be totally relaxed, have fun, joke around with the
And
staff.
stay on property, which is nice too. There's so many
Yeah,
great golf courses that you can't come and stay on property, and I think that's
yeah, and
the facilities and the amenities at RTJ are through the roof, and all kinds of different varieties of amenities as well.
yeah, and I just feel like I'm on vacation every time I'm there, and I like feeling like I'm on vacation. It takes me a little under an hour to get there from, downtown DC, sometimes 45 minutes, depending on traffic. But every time I pull through the gate, I just feel like I'm on vacation.
Fantastic. Well, in March, you had a Las Vegas swing. Tell us a little bit about Shadow Creek. That's definitely a bucket list place for me. I tried to get on at Shadow Creek last summer, and it just didn't work out with the schedule and my meetings. End up playing somewhere else in Vegas, but I'm going to get that done here soon. Obviously, the match between Bryson and Brooks and Scotty and Rory, where Scotty and Rory just absolutely smoked them at Shadow Creek. They got to play under the light. They brought in lights and played the last 12 holes under the lights. But tell us a little about Shadow Creek because it's a very unique golf course in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, the funny thing, when I was looking at the calendar, I kept thinking like, "Why the hell was I in Vegas for 2 weeks?" That's nothing I would ever do. Um, Even back in my party days, I feel like more than 54 hours in
Oh
Vegas
yeah.
and, like, just
I once had to stay in Vegas for an entire week, and I thought I was going to die at the end of it. Just the
yeah.
sound of a slot machine was giving me nightmares at some point.
Yeah, I had, for some weird reason, back-to-back client conferences in Vegas, like back-to-back weeks. And instead of flying home and flying back, I decided, screw it. I'm just going to get a hotel for 2 full weeks and I'm going to go to these conferences and I'm going to play as much golf as possible. And so I think I played like 10 courses just around Las Vegas, with Shadow Creek being the obvious number one. Um, Such a cool day. You met obviously other Rob Retzloff and Jake Ward from 3C. Um, they came out to play Shadow Creek. You need to stay at a MGM property. So we stayed at Aria, and they'll send old school, I would call it Donald Trump style limousine, from the early 90s, but like a nice one,
Mhm.
um, to pick you up at the hotel, take you to Shadow Creek, just meticulous, spotless everything. I mean, it's hard to believe that this is just flat desert because you feel like you're in just a wonderland, an oasis, a parkland oasis, and everything is absolutely perfect. Tom Fazio built it from scratch for Stephen Wynn, and it's just like make believe. Like it's like the Disney World of golf. It literally feels like playing Augusta National in the Las Vegas desert. So,
Nuts.
is it possible for people to play? It is. Um, it was like $1,300 a piece, and that included the golf, the round trip limo, all your food and snacks for the day except alcohol. So for 3 people, it was $3,900. Luckily, it was a client business trip, so I was able to just pick it up. But so it's not cheap, but if you
It
wanna
it
play.
is it is cheaper in the summer if you wanna play in the middle of summer when it's 115
Yeah.
degrees. I think when I was staying at MGM Grand or MG whatever that hotel was out there, I was by myself and I had my clubs, and I didn't wanna go play it by myself, and I couldn't find anybody good to play with, so I ended up playing Valley High that morning that I could golf, which is also a good golf course. That's on your I see it's on your list as well that you played, but, yeah, it's I wanna go back with somebody special and play Shadow Creek because it just looks amazing anytime I've seen it on television.
I mean, I tell you to do it in a heartbeat because you love golf and you appreciate special experiences, and, I know some people prefer, old classic golf courses and don't like overly manufactured. And I would say that would be my preference, but this place is so freaking cool. It's so perfect and it's so unbelievably well done that I think it's I think it's a spectacle in and of itself, and I'm really glad I did it. I'd probably do it again if the right group wanted to go do it. I don't wanna pay for it all again, but I'll gladly I'll gladly go.
Well, it's one that what's nice is as you're checking courses off your list, it's one you can do, you just gotta pony up the money. Some of these other ones, you have to have the right connections to get in. Anybody can play at Shadow Creek, which is great. Let's move on to April, and there's one course that is a course I really wanna get to that I'm very intrigued by, and I wanna hear more about it from you, and that's the tree farm in Aiken, South Carolina, designed by Zach Blair, right, from the PGA Tour,
Yeah,
and it just looks
yeah.
amazing. I wanna hear more about it. It's only been open now for what, a year or 2? Is that
Yeah,
right?
so, after we just finished talking about how expensive, um, staying at Aria and playing Shadow Creek is, you know, my typical golf trip when places are kind of off the beaten path is find the cheapest flight, stay at, like, a Home2 Suites or, like, a Holiday Inn Express, and just keep it simple. So I was flying into Columbia, South Carolina, which is the closest place to fly into Aiken, where Tree Farm, Old Barnwell, and Palmetto are. And our flight out of DC was so late. By the time we got into Columbia, all of the rental car places were closed, even though I had a reservation. Um,
They know how to
Mhm.
take the reservation, they just don't know how to hold the reservation,
Exactly.
and the holding of the
Seriously.
reservation is really the most important part of the reservation process.
Yeah. I don't think you do. One of the great Jerry Seinfeld moments, but so true. It took 40 minutes for an Uber to show up. This guy shows up like, the car is just reeking of weed, and we're I fall asleep in the back seat of like this, I don't even remember what kind of car it was. But I fall asleep and he's just blaring the music, and it just smells of weed. It's probably high by secondhand. And I wake up, and we're on the side of the road. He ran out of gas, and he runs out of gas, and he's trying to wave somebody down. And I finally get out, and I'm helping him wave somebody down. I end up we finally get someone to take us to the gas station. We get to, like, the Hampton Inn or the Holiday Inn Express in Aiken at 4:30 in the morning. I get up and I'm, like, thinking I'm gonna Uber to Palmetto Golf Club in Aiken. There's no fucking Uber. So, uh I, like, Google taxi, and there's, like, one taxi for the city of Aiken, which blew my mind, and it was the most beat up, horrible car ever. So I get in the back seat of this that drives me up to, like, the pretty exclusive Palmetto Golf Club, which is for Southern gentlemen, and I
Okay.
pull up in this, like, beat up Caprice Classic. Um, get out, I play tee off at 7:30, and the head pro there, I think his name is Brooks, um, heard my story and offered to take me to the rental car place after the round. He, gave me a tour of Aiken. Couldn't have been nicer. And it's just one of those things where, like, golf travel, sometimes you're at the high rollers table in Vegas going to Shadow Creek, and other times you've got this nice head pro in a small southern town, proud to show you the local community and the history. There's a lot of history in Aiken, South Carolina, a lot of great golf. It's about 20 miles east of Augusta. And it's just these trips you travel enough, you random shit happens to you. And I've just
Mhm.
reached a point with travel to where, like, it takes a lot to phase me at this point. Like, you lose my bag, I've had it happen before. Lose my clubs, fuck. What are you gonna do? Like,
Right, right.
I see people at the airport getting really worked up and mad, and I literally have had everything happen to me so far except crash. Knock on wood that it doesn't. I mean, I've even had a lot of almost crashes. Like,
Well, I mean, yeah, you had troubles coming to Oklahoma to
yeah,
play golf with. We were supposed to fly in on a Saturday night. You said, "I'll be there." I'm boarding the plane, and as you're boarding the plane, they pulled you off the plane. You don't
yeah,
get out that night. End up having to switch your flight to Wichita. Pick you up there. We have to change our tea time at Prairie Dunes.
we
It
just
all
roll.
worked out though. It all
We
worked out. It was
we
great.
just gotta roll with it, you know? Yeah.
Well, let's. Oh yeah, we still didn't get into the tree farm. Tell me about the tree farm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so, Zach Blair, who's a PGA Tour professional, um, he spearheaded this effort, helped raise the capital to build it. He got Tom Doak, who's one of the best architects in the world,
for
uh,
sure.
to assist him with the routing, um, and they're building the membership out now. I think the clubhouse is almost done. So when I played it in, I think March, um, the clubhouse wasn't done yet. You know, we, they fed us like tacos, like there was like a buffet, and they were great. We had like tacos, um, Modelo's, and chocolate chip cookies.
Nothing wrong
And
with that.
the pro shop, and it was fantastic. And the pro shop was in like a double wide trailer, but they still had really cool swag. Um, love the golf course. One of my favorites I played this year. It starts out with a long par three over a deep ravine, which is kind of unique. Um, really great routing. Kind of reminds you a little bit of if like Dormy Club and Pinehurst number two had a baby,
Okay.
like that kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
really two courses I love. So I like that a lot. And then I think probably three of the best closing holes in golf. They had like a punch bowl par five, similar to the number two at Fox Chapel, the punch bowl
Oh
green.
yeah.
And then the 17th hole is a really cool, tricky par three. And then 18 was a drivable par five. I had like a 12 footer for eagle and missed it. But yeah, Tree Farm was killer. I would join it tomorrow if it didn't cost $175,000 to join. Um, I'd gladly join it for a national membership. I'm guessing the national doesn't cost that much. Um, but yeah, that's a big nut to pay. But really a great place, and I hope they crush it. I was really surprised it didn't make the top 100 in the US list because I would put it in my top 85, which is
Okay,
saying a lot.
for sure. All right, so January, February, March, April, you're averaging like 12 rounds a month, you know? Then the shit gets real in May.
Yeah, yeah,
23 rounds of golf at 21 courses and first international travel of the year. So let's start with the few courses you played in the States at the beginning of the month. Muirfield Village didn't need much of an introduction for our listeners. If you like golf at all, you know a lot about Muirfield Village probably. But then also, I want you to hone in a little bit more on the Sharon Golf Club, because this is one that's kind of off the beaten path that doesn't get a lot of attention in Sharon Center, Ohio. And I know you really like that course.
yeah. Sharon it's a men's only club. So I think they're like pretty secretive. They don't do a lot of advertising, and it's just sort of always the way it's been. I think it was started by some bigwigs at Firestone, Firestone Tire Company in Akron. Um, Probably because the Firestone Country Club, most of these small private golf clubs start because members at the big local country club got sick and tired of not being able to get tee times or playing 4.5 hour rounds. So that's why a lot of these places that, really weren't for family oriented got started. Dave Axon, who used to be a deputy to Corin Crenshaw, got the restoration gig at the Sharon Golf Club, I think in 2021. And I just fell in love with the routing, just the variety of holes, the variety of the land. The topography is very different on the first 4 holes from the last 5 on the front 9, and then the back 9 is totally different from the front, and it's just an enjoyable round, not super challenging, but, really enjoyable to play, and I love their, club motto. It's just "Keep it simple." So, like, on the back of their hats, it just says "Keep it simple."
Love it.
I thought it was pretty cool. It's sort of like the anti Muirfield Village, and when I say anti Muirfield Village, I don't mean that in a bad way because I really do think that, like, what's great about golf is that, you know, it's hard to say one is better than the other. That's my nephew puppy Teddy in Columbus, who, unlike Watson, actually cares if somebody's breaking into the house. Well, usually why. Watson the bulldog is a little lazy, but it's like, what do you prefer, blondes or brunettes? Like,
Well, I mean,
doesn't
look on
yeah,
my bucket
yeah,
list, I have Grove 23, and I also have Los Angeles Country Club. You can't get
yeah,
two different vibes than those two places, but I want to experience it all.
yeah.
I can't say one's better than the other. They're just different. That's all.
I think that there are 3 schools, right? There's the Pine Valley School, which is rugged and difficult. There's the Augusta National School of Architecture, which is perfection, like absolute perfection, Parkland perfection. And then there's the Old Course St. Andrews School, which is natural as can be, linksland, bouncy, sandy soil, better have a great short game, um, better be able to hit all these different shots. And so Muirfield Village falls under the Augusta National School of, like, perfect practice facilities, perfect fairways, plush bent grass greens. The bunkers are manicured, you know, by hand. Um, and you know what? I appreciate that every now and then. And then the Sharon is more rugged, more of the like junior Pine Valley type vibe. which I also like playing. So it's like I don't even know if I like one more than the other. I like being able to play both, and you know, one's not wrong. I think Muirfield Village, like I grew up watching the Muirfield or the Memorial. Columbus has basically become a second hometown to me. My sisters have lived here since 2000 ish. So I've been coming to Columbus a lot. So I have a lot of friends here. You know, I like playing Muirfield Village a lot. We played it not too long before the Memorial, and it was just firm and fast, and the rough was up. And I mean, I was playing to a plus something at that point, and I was thrilled to shoot 78.
Mm.
Like, I mean, it was just you drop the ball on the green, and it literally would make a noise and bounce up, you
Wow.
know, like it was on concrete. And they did that on purpose. I thought they would be watering and slowing the greens down before the event, but the head pro came out on the putting green before we teed off to welcome us, and he said, "No, we have them really hard right now because we don't want you guys making a lot of ball marks out there before the event." And I'll tell you what, you want to play a tough golf course, play Muirfield Village with rock hard greens and thick rough.
Oh
And
yeah.
and we played it from 7,000, so we didn't go all the way back. But I'll tell you what, I would have been delighted to play less than 7,000. I mean, it was a pest.
All right, so you get 3 great rounds in the States, and then you're off to Scotland for a pretty epic trip with our friend Gerard Burke.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Scotland trip.
Yeah, with, Dominic Hersman and Bill Folkerth, 2 guys you met, and obviously Gerard Burke, who's a friend of yours. But you met Dominic and Bill at MG Cup. Um, yeah, we went nuts. So we booked like 14 courses in 12 days or something stupid. Um, we started on the West Coast. We played, Turnberry, which is just out of this world terrific. Some of the best.
I noticed in your listing, you just call it Turnberry and not Trump Turnberry. I was just
Yeah,
wondering if that was on purpose or not.
you know, when I go on YouTube and I look up the Duel in the Sun at Turnberry
It's
between
true.
Watson and Jack, it doesn't say Trump Turnberry. It just says the Duel in the Sun at Turnberry. But you know, they are smart because in the pro shop, half the pro shop is the Trump branded logo with the Biff,
Okay.
and then the other half is the original just Turnberry logo. And you could totally tell that, like, you know, who's shopping at which side of the store. I will say this, for as much as I, you know, torn him a new one on the show, um, he puts money into his golf courses, and they're always well run. They're in great shape. Um, Turnberry is definitely of his entire repertoire, of his entire collection. It is the standout best of the Trump properties. You know, I if somebody told me it was in their top 10 courses in the world, I would not be shocked. I'd probably put it in my top 25 on the world,
Wow.
which is high. It's spectacular, and I think they're actually it's building 2 new holes now, getting them closer to the coastline. I'm guessing they got either acquired new land or got permits to move. He likes moving everything as close to the water as possible, but, um, killer hotel, great service, great food, great golf. Um, you know, I'm able to separate my political feelings from golf, so it's a nice place. People should go check it out.
And then St. you gotta talk about St. Andrews. I mean, this is a course that I've got to get to for obvious reasons. It's been on my bucket list since I was a kid, and even more so after being Bob Nay's executive assistant and not being able to go on the trip to St. Andrews, which probably kept me from having a felony on my record. So I guess that's a good thing. But I've got to get over there and play that golf course.
You know, for me, there are like 3 or 4 courses in the world that give you goosebumps on the first tee and at different points throughout the round. Um, the old course of St. Andrews, that first tee shot. Obviously the road hole hitting over the hotel, the 18th hole coming back into town, with all the shops and buildings to your right. Um, you just get goosebumps because you grew up watching it on TV. Same thing at Augusta National, same thing at Pebble Beach, where you really kind of the holes, you get the goosebumps, you're doing something special. And those to me are the three courses. Like, even if you don't get to play Augusta, you can get on the old course. You can get on Pebble Beach. It's expensive. And you can go to the Masters. Those are three experiences that I think everybody can do, they should do. But getting on the old course is just awesome. I mean, I've played it, I think 4 or 5 times. And the last two times we got dark times through Wayne Vallis, friend of the show, who's a member at St. Andrews Golf Club. And we teed off. It means you tee off at like 5 o'clock. So it's like getting dark the last three holes. So you end up playing the last three holes with like glow in the dark balls, relying on the city lights from town to see, your final shots of the day coming up 17 and 18. And there's always a group of tourists standing around the 18th green with their iPhones up with the lights on. So you can
Oh, that's
pile
great.
and get the round in. So yeah, I mean the old course is always one of my gauges on like how stupid some people's opinions are about golf architecture. Because there are people I know that'll be like, "Oh, it's just a goat track," or "Oh, it's super flat," or "You can't even really see the water that much." Like, dude, Tiger Woods called it the best golf course he's ever played.
Exactly.
Uh,
I was gonna say the same thing, and if Tiger Woods says it's the best golf course, I'm sorry, but your
yeah,
opinion doesn't really matter when you say it's not a good golf course. It's just that's
yeah,
how it
because
is.
the thing is, like, the better you are, the better you are at golf, the more you appreciate the old course, because there's nowhere else in the world with greens like that. And there's nowhere else in the world where you really have to like commit to sight lines and just have every shot. And so if you're out there just wanting to see waves crash against rocks, go play Pebble Beach. You know,
Right.
it's great. Go play Pebble
And
Beach.
there's plenty of links courses where you can see that, but
Yeah.
there's something like you said. There's certain courses that are gonna give you goosebumps when you walk on St. Andrews. I know will give. I get goosebumps just thinking about going to St. Andrews. So incredible trip to Scotland, and then you come back to Pennsylvania, and you just have a casual 4 rounds that include Pine Valley and Marion.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah. Um, I think Pine Valley is the best course in the US, arguably the best on the planet. You've played it now. Um, it's just it challenges every aspect of your game. It's just an honor to be there. Um, I can't say enough nice things about it. I love the practice facilities, love the pro shop, love the clubhouse, love the locker room, love everything about Pine Valley.
absolutely.
Like, and Marion's for sure in my top 10 in the US. Um, you and I are both more Pittsburgh guys, so I always put Oakmont just a notch above Marion, but I could honestly go either way on that. I just love the way it's presented. I think the two best routed courses in the US are Marion and Riviera, because they're both on really small properties. And when you play them, you don't feel compressed. Like, there's plenty of width on every hole to hit the ball, and you don't feel on top of each other at all. I don't know how they do that on 150 acres, whatever the hell it is. Um, but every hole's unique, every hole's good, every hole's hard. They're and it is in its own little world. And I don't know how on earth they did that on such a small property. So, like, the routing points for that, like, Sandhills is a great golf course, top 10. Um, they had thousands of acres to choose from. Corin
Right.
Quinta, like, plotted out hundreds of different golf holes and then picked the best 18. Then you look at Marion and Riviera, they had 150 acres and they used 149 of them.
That's right.
Like, and
Well, and again, back to Marion too, it's the history when you show up at a place like that. The history involved in that club and the great champions that have won US Opens there. It just has to blow your mind a little bit when you stand on that first tee to think about who's played this golf course before you.
well, and the absolute wildest thing about Marion is the first tee is basically right off the patio where everybody's eating breakfast and lunch and drinking coffee or having lunch and chatting. And so it is a little nerve-wracking because the first tee shot really requires you to pipe one with like a slight little fade. And it's got bunkers, sort of pinching the fairway if my memory serves me right. But like you've got all these people there, watching, and then they all hush right before you hit. And I would almost prefer they just keep fucking talking. Like,
Mhm.
just keep doing what they're doing because that constant it's when they, like, hush right before you're ready to
Yeah.
hit that you're just like, "Oh, shit, now I gotta hit a good shot." Um, but and then the 18th, you walk up the 18th and you see the plaque where Ben Hogan hit his, 1 iron. Um, just it's just it's one of the great places in golf, and, you know, anyone that says that Marion is overrated doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, I mean, I it's one of those courses where, like, you know, you pretty much need to be a single digit handicap to truly appreciate it. Same with
Yeah.
Epworth. Like, you've gotta have a I I think to truly enjoy Oakmont, you have to have a sub 6 handicap maybe, like.
Hold that thought on Oakmont because we're going to take a break here. We aren't even to the month of June yet. This is going to conclude part one of this two-part series. We were thinking about maybe doing this in one episode, but I'm making an executive decision that we're turning this into 2 episodes. So this will end part one. Tune in for part two. Thank you for everyone who listens. Subscribe on anywhere you get your audio podcast. Also, you can watch the video podcast on YouTube. Please subscribe there. Follow us on social media at Golf and Politics on Facebook and Instagram, Golf Politics Pod on X, and Golf.politics on TikTok. So thanks again for listening, and don't forget to tune in to part two of this incredible episode. Hey!